Welcome, everybody, to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rance alongside Tommy Christ and TK joining us from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood in Baton Rouge. I'm coming to you from the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame studios. And as always, Sports Shorts Daily is presented by LeBear's Casino. You can go to that Barstool Sportsbook. You can watch the Super Bowl. And it's going to be, those big, comfy chairs, TK, over at Barstool Sportsbook in the giant, TVs and video screen wall. That is going to be the VIP place to watch the Super Bowl. No question about it. It'll be packed. Make sure you go by, get a reservation, do whatever you got to do. But Barstool Sportsbook inside the Bears Baton Rouge is going to be the ideal place to watch the Super Bowl this week. Today's show, we'll talk about the King, LeBron James. He passes Kareem, becomes the all-time leading scorer in a loss last night. The Lakers, but he scored with about 10 seconds to go or so in that game to get the record at home. And we'll get into his place in history. And, he was asked by Shaquille O'Neal on TNT after the game, Tommy, are you the greatest basketball player of all time? And Shaq kept asking him, over and over and over. And he said, look, I think I'm the greatest. I have the most confidence when I play against anybody, but that's a fun debate for everybody else to get into. Thing I will say is that, a lot of us thought Kareem's record would never be broken. Well, now I'm going to officially say I don't think LeBron's record's ever going to be broken because he's 38 and there's no let up in sight. He's still averaging 30 a game. He's like Tom Brady. I mean, he takes care of himself. He can play as long as he wants. He's got motivation to play with his kids. So we'll get into the LeBron history debate. Also, there's a debate going on here in the boot that's gotten spicy. We'll find out, I guess, on the 10th. Today's the 8th, so we'll find out on Friday if, in fact, Dale Brown Court will get Sue Gunner's name added to it. It looks like it probably will head that way because you have the president of LSU and the governor in support of this change. That has Dale Brown, Dick Vitale. That has Tim Brando. Clearly, it's got Dale Brown upset about it, and people in his camp that he's sharing the court with someone else. I'll get Tommy's take on that as it's gotten spicy online between the Dale Brown supporters and those that think, hey, why not? What's wrong with adding Sue's name to it? Super Bowl-wise, the line moved for a minute and then moved back to its original line. We'll see what Tommy has to say as to maybe what went on there. LSU's women's basketball team getting ready for the showdown. It is officially 1 versus number 2 in the coaches poll on Sunday in South Carolina. And New Orleans Saints have a new defensive coordinator. I have some thoughts on that. Let's go first, Tommy, to LeBron James. I know you're not exchanging Christmas cards with him, but he's worth a conversation. The guy is now the all-time leading scorer in the NBA. You're over the age of 60. We won't have to say exactly what that number is. Who do you think is the greatest basketball player of all time if it's not LeBron?
Michael Jordan. I think Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player of all time on both ends of the floor. He was all defensive team many years. I don't know. And it's subjective. There are people that'll say the different thing. And look, I'll tip my hat to LeBron James. I mean, this is a remarkable record. I hope this makes some younger people look up a little bit about Kareem and check out just how powerful. And he was the greatest college basketball player ever was Lou Alcindor at UCLA. Then he became Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But look at what he accomplished. Maybe some of the younger people had maybe heard his name but didn't know exactly what he did. Now, here's a couple things. One, LeBron broke the record in 150 less games. Okay, so that's significant. It's not like 10 less games. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had 1 3-pointer in his career. I guess somewhere at half or end of the game when it was out, he jacked one up and it went in. Only 1 3-pointer. Obviously, LeBron's got lots of 3-pointers. But, I think it's great for the NBA. It's great for the historians. I hope people realize how great Kareem was as his name's back in the forefront now. And you got to tip your hat to LeBron. I mean, I have people say longevity. He's got no morals. He bowed down to China. Okay, let's forget about all that right now. Let's just say nobody has scored more points in the NBA than LeBron James. And as you said, Ronnie, he's got time. He's going to play for a while. And he's going to stretch that number out. And I'm like you. I don't think it'll ever be broken. Nobody play that long with the money they make now. And LeBron's not playing for the money. He should have more money than he knows what to do with. He's got generational wealth. So, I think it's going to be his, and I don't foresee it being broke.
But speaking of Kareem, he was there at the game. They stopped the game with, like I said, seconds to go in that loss for the Lakers. And Kareem came out. He outstretched his hand with the basketball on it, kind of a ceremonial gesture, handing the basketball to LeBron as now he's the record holder. They gave a big hug. That was a great moment because there was a little bit of conversation over the last few months that, LeBron and Kareem necessarily weren't the best of friends or anything like that. But I think Kareem did the right thing. He showed up. He was supposed to be there. He is an all-time great Laker. Kareem's a complicated fella, in the mold of a Muhammad Ali, an activist who grew up in a different era and has strong beliefs and opinions that don't necessarily always jive with the mainstream. He's okay with that. He doesn't. He's not bothered by that. And so I respect him for his strong beliefs. And Magic Johnson, who's more of the get along with everybody, not really, say too much politically, who maneuvered those waters, is the ultimate Kareem Abdul-Jabbar fan, and talks about what a great captain, and calls him the captain, and talks about what a great teammate he was and a great player. But look, I'm curious to see, LeBron's got over 38,000 points, Tommy. I think he's going to play at least 4 more years. Like, I see him playing until at least he's 42. That gives him time to play potentially with his kids, one son at least. And there's no let up in his game. I mean, the guy's playing as well as he has in the last 5 years. This year, he's thinned out a little bit. He's in great shape. He's averaging 30 points a game. So he is like Tom Brady in the sense that he can play as long as he wants to.
Well, as long as his health stays. I mean, Father Time's undefeated. We always say that. But, he doesn't look like he's slowing up anytime soon. Now, maybe next February or the February after that, it'll be like the Drew Brees that couldn't throw the ball down the field, the Peyton Manning that couldn't throw the ball down the field. And then, LeBron, but he's got a goal of wanting to play for his kid with his sons, in an NBA game, or maybe against his sons in an NBA game. I don't know if he can manipulate what team they all get on, but maybe he can, maybe he can't. But you got to tip your hat to LeBron James. I respect him as a basketball player, as an incredible athlete, and his off the court stuff. That I got my opinion on that. Just like Jabbar, I respect Jabbar, Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, as one of the greatest basketball players ever step on the court. I don't always agree with everything, and but that's okay. I'm a sportscaster, I think, so therefore I look at the sports end of it.
Did you see the picture? There was a photo of Phil Knight, the CEO of Nike, was sitting courtside right underneath the goal, about 3 seats from the basket where LeBron, made his record-breaking shot. And it was interesting, to show you the generational difference. Phil Knight, I'm not quite sure how old he is, but I'm going to go with 70, 75 maybe or something. And everybody around him is holding up their phones and is recording LeBron's final shot. And Phil Knight, was just sitting there, hands in his pocket, just simply watching the moment. And it shows you a difference in generations there. Everybody else trying to film it, which is kind of funny because – why do you have to have your phone out in that moment? Because you're going to see that video on a million platforms the rest of your life versus your shaky camera. But Washington was there. Jay-Z was at the game. Bad Bunny. I mean, like everybody was there last night.
But there was a picture of Michael Jordan, I guess, hitting that shot against the Cavaliers. And the crowds, and now the picture of LeBron, everybody had their phone out, the generational gap, as you said. By the way, I just looked it up. Phil Knight is 84.
Is he really? Boy, money makes you look good, huh? Phil Knight look good, looks good for his age as well. He should. So for me, look, the conversation of greatest all time is one that's interesting because the problem I have with this debate when it comes to basketball and in any sport, really football, right? We talk about Johnny Unitas being one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. That game doesn't even. The game that they played in the 50s and 60s doesn't look anything like the game that they playing in the last 20, 30 years. So it's so hard to compare big gaps of 50, 60 years when you're talking about sports. And the same is about basketball. As great as Bill Russell was and Wilt Chamberlain was, they didn't have peers. I mean, Bill Russell had Will Chamberlain. They didn't have enough other great athletes around him, even just physical specimens, not necessarily scores. Like Shaquille O'Neal, as great as he was, I mean, they had other 7-footers that were athletic, and they had double teams and of other grit. I mean, Wilt Chamberlain was so much bigger and stronger than 98% of everybody he ever played against. It was men against boys, literally. Now that's nothing against Wilt Chamberlain, but it's hard to compare how great he was in that era where he does not really going against other great athletes on a day in, day out basis compared to in the last 30, 40 years.
Well, a lot of times it's apples and oranges, but it's great fuel for shows like ours and all our friends that have shows, be it on YouTube and radio, TV, the internet stuff. It's fuel for conversation, and it can be fun, and hopefully people can do that. And I mean, opinions are opinions, and what I think you don't have to agree with, but it's my opinion of what I think based on what I've seen, read, heard, looked at, etc. And I respect other people's opinion, even if I don't agree with it.
Usually, Tommy, I feel like when we talk about the greatest of all time in sports, traditionally, we as human beings will go back to our youth. What did we grow up pulling for and cheering for? What made such an impact? Because when you're, 10, 15 years old, whatever, it means more to you, right? You look at sports through a different lens, and it's more it's special. It's more special where we're more cynical the older we get, and we know more about the person or whatever. As a kid or a young teenager, you look at sports differently. Your heroes, you look at them differently. And so I think that we tend to go back to nostalgia, and I think that's the case when it comes to this debate.
Well, my youngest grandson's a big Patrick Mahomes fan. He's got the Mahomes jersey. Right. He's got the Chiefs hat. He's 8 years old. Well, he thinks Mahomes is the greatest quarterback ever. He has no idea about Montana and Elway, and we can go down the list. So I think you make a great point there. I grew up playing bitty basketball, idolizing Pete Maravich, and then, football was Terry Bradshaw because he won 4 Super Bowls in the 70s when I was, that teenage kid trying to become an older teenager, and I don't think Bradshaw is one of the greatest of all time, but I'm accentuating your point that that's what I looked up to when I was in that age group.
Well, let's move on to the topic, the Dale Brown court thing. Look, I find it sad a little bit. Dale Brown's in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, and was one of my all-time favorite coaches. What he did at LSU can't be understated from a standpoint of the transition. Excuse me. After Pete Maravich, with LSU basketball barely won with Pete. Then they got rid of him and his dad, and what are we going to do next? And Dale Brown took LSU basketball to another level. We know he went to 2 Final Fours, but beyond that, LSU basketball, next to the name Kentucky, became one of the top 3 basketball programs in the SEC over the course of his tenure. I mean, from the late 70s to the mid 90s, I would say LSU basketball was a top 3 SEC basketball team in the league outside of Kentucky. And that was Dale. And they did a lot of great things. And he is deserving of being his name on that basketball court, in my opinion. He, like Kareem, has been a very outspoken, controversial figure over the years. I think, quite frankly, Dale's been somewhat hypocritical. I know he was very outspoken of Will Wade, privately, personally, publicly. Will Wade and the cheating stuff, and it's like, well, wait a minute, Dale. There's things that went on under your tenure. Yes, there's things we know about, but there's also things. There was a pots of money and paying players and all that. Let's just not BS that. And so I think that's where the hypocritical part comes in for me. Is like, wait a minute, John Williams didn't come here for free. Okay, like that's just one. But like, John Williams didn't come here for free. I don't care if you want to say that to your dying breath. But and so like, let's not throw stones. And I think it's a shame that at Dale's age, mid upper 80s at this point, that he doesn't have a long time here on this earth. Do we want to go out whining? Do we want to go out fighting for your spot in history? Because if Dale Brown were to say to Dick Vitale and Tim Brando, listen, let it go. I'm okay with, listen, it's just not worth it. Let them put Sue Gunner's name on the court. I mean, but instead we're going to fight till our dying breath. Give me, I think I have a bad taste in the mouth. I don't like that LSU's put his name, and then now they're going to add another name, and then where does it stop? And I mean, Kim Mulkey wins a title. Do they add her name? But at the same time, if I'm Dale, I'm saying, hey, man, I'm 80 whatever years old. Like, come on, let it go.
Well, nobody's going to win here. I mean, if they end up not putting Sue Gunner on, then there'll be people that, the hair will get on fire. It's a tough situation. When they first said they were going to name the court after Dale Brown, and I'm on record for saying this, I didn't agree with that. I thought they should hang a banner like you got Bob Pettit, Rudy Macklin, Shaquille O'Neal, Pete Maravich. I thought they should have hung a banner, Dale Brown, 1972 to 95. Whatever it said, whatever it said, 2 Final Fours, 81, 86, whatever it was. And then you could hang a banner for Sue Gunner. You could hang a banner for D.D. Bro in the building, and then have room for other banners, because if Kim Mulkey wins a national title, you got to do something. So I thought that would have been more appropriate, just like the banners for the players. And I believe Simone Augustus has a banner up there too. So, I mean, I think that would have been a better idea, because you kind of box yourself in. Now, I guess if you go to Duke, it's Mike Krzyzewski court. Well, how many national titles did he win? Nobody's going to top that, okay? So you're not going to have anything come out about that. But it's a sensitive topic and generational, again, as you said. We know what Dale Brown, when he drove around Louisiana hanging purple and gold nets on every outdoor basketball court in the state, and bringing kids in for the camps and all of that. What do you call them? The Tiger Tots or something? The little basketball camp.
Tots,
yeah, the basketball camp that he did. So, I mean, no, there's no question. Pete Maravich helped put LSU baseball on the map. Dale kicked it up 10 levels. Okay, there's no question about that. The Final Four runs, the players he put into the NBA, just unbelievable. I mean, it's hard to pick an all-time Dale Brown all-time team, because you need about 20 guys on it or more. It's a sensitive topic. I get it. It's the world we live in now. I just wish there was a peaceful, easy feeling to steal a line from the Eagles song that we could come up with.
It's weird how nowadays everything is fought on social media. So obviously the two biggest names, the two most outspoken names and supporters rather of Dale Brown have been Dick Vitale and Tim Brando. Our boy Jordy Collada has been very vocal and kind of going back and forth with Brando. Been pretty funny how they're going back at it. But it's just strange to me that these guys would choose that forum, and it's not going to make a difference if the governor and the president of the school are on the same page, which that's every indication is that they are. This thing's a wrap. I mean, like that board's not going against the governor and the president of the school over something silly like this. A name on a court. I mean, it's too insignificant to dig in and fight the battle of not putting someone's name on the court that's deceased and died while on the job and all that stuff.
I agree. It's going to get uglier before it gets better, and there's going to be no winner here. Somebody's not going to be happy, and that's unfortunate.
I guess they didn't want to add another statue. Well, they got 4 statues out there and counting. Going for a guy who not going to have a statue at LSU because unfortunately he didn't play long enough and because of everything that went down. But Cam Thomas, how about what he's doing? Youngest NBA player to have 3 straight 40-point games. I mean, like Cam Thomas is. It's like they have unleashed the beast up in Brooklyn once Kyrie Irving got traded to the Mavs. I mean, he has just come out firing. He was a great player for 1 year with LSU. The only thing was he had some stretches. And look, he was 19 years old or whatever, 19, 20 years old when he played at LSU. So he was inconsistent at times. And I mean, he had to shoot a lot. He was a guy that had to throw it up there 30 times to get his points sometimes. But it has come together, and he has turned into one hell of an NBA player.
Well, and he's the first Nets player to ever do that, too, when he got to 2 in a row. And, the Nets have a rich history going back to the old ABA days, the red, white, blue basketball, Nets, yeah. The red, white, blue basketball days. But, no, I mean, he always could score the basketball. His shooting percentage wasn't that great at LSU by any stretch. But, you got to shoot to get hot. You got to shoot to stay hot. That was my theory. And he can definitely score. And his minutes went up significantly when Irving was shipped off to the Mavericks. So, hey, that's a lesson for everybody out there. Be ready when they call your name. They called Cam Thomas's name when they traded Kyrie Irving, and he was ready physically and mentally, and he's tearing up the numbers in the record book. So as an example, all the young kids out there, be ready in case they call your name to be able to produce.
The thing, too, that Cam Thomas does when you watch him, Tommy, when he shoots the basketball is, obviously he's a guard. He's going to be a lot smaller than a lot of the players on that court, but he releases it at the apex, way up, straight up. And he's able to, his shot is not in free. He's hardly ever going to get his shot blocked, is what I'm saying. Like, he's able to get his shot off over all different sizes. And he also jumps about, 40 inches every time he goes to shoot a basketball. So he's an impressive player. And the Nets need something like that, because with Kyrie leaving and the injuries that have mounted to that franchise and Durant and everything, now they've got something to be excited about, do the fans over there in Brooklyn.
The trade deadline's tomorrow in the NBA, so we'll see if there's any moves under the wire there.
All right, Pels have won 3 in a row. Break them up. They're a streaky team, right? They've lost 10 in a row. Now they won 3 in a row. Good for them. Super Bowl this weekend, the line moved a minute. You caught that? What, I guess money
I
dumped
went
in
up
on
to Eagles -2. Somebody must have made a lot of bets or whatever. But as of shortly before we started the show, it's still 1.5 and 50.5. I saw the over/under go to 51, which that's not a big deal, but could be, but probably not. So obviously we'll talk plenty about the Super Bowl Friday. We'll talk plenty about the Super Bowl on Sports Shorts Radio Saturday morning, 10 to 12, 104.5 ESPN. But it's kind of after they changed it, right? Monday night was not media night. It was opening day. Opening night, they called it. They changed it from media because they don't let near as many media in. I read an article about that. The TMZ guy ain't getting in. There's only certain people are going to get in now to avoid the dumb questions. So, but hey, it's the Super Bowl, and
obviously the 2 African-American quarterbacks starting in the Super Bowl, first time that's ever happened. That was a point of conversation and mentioned a number of times over the last week, and obviously the most famous question, dumbest ever, is the Doug Williams famous question when he was the first, black quarterback back in the 80s when he was asked at Media Day, how long have you been a black quarterback? And then he said, since I was born,
And then you got the Kelsey brothers. There was a big movement to have the Kelsey's mom do the coin flip, Ronnie.
Oh, that's funny.
There was a big movement. Of course, the NFL's not going to do that, but there was a big petition and a big social media splash that, hey, let her do the coin toss. You got a kid on each team, which is, kind of cool, but they're not going to let her do the coin toss.
Yeah.
I can promise you that.
NFL's probably had multiple meetings over the last 6 months on the coin toss procedure and who's there and how they're going to, all that stuff. On Friday, Tommy and I are each going to give you 2 prop bets that we really, really like. So on Friday, outside of, wins and losses and all that, we're going to give you 2 prop bets, 2 different ones. So you'll get 4 total prop bets that we really like. We'll give that to you on Friday because there's a million of them. And one of the ones that I'm always usually into is the over-under on the anthem. I always like to know the over-under in the national anthem. So we're going to tell you who's singing it and what the line is on the over-under on that anthem. I'll say this, just a general rule of thumb. Country singers, I like the under. R&B singers, I like the over. That's just standard rule of thumb. Doesn't mean I'm right. It's just a way of looking at it.
Pro tip from Ron King.
There you go. As a guy who's sung the anthem a few times now.
Yeah. Well, Jay Johnson ought to have you out there this year. You've never lost an LSU game when you sang the anthem.
I wouldn't mind singing the anthem this year because I have a feeling my streak can stay alive this year.
The odds are with you.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of LSU baseball scrimmages going on today, Friday, Saturday,
5 o'clock
Sunday.
Friday. They changed the time Friday. It was 6:30. Now they're going 5 o'clock for some reason. And then Saturday and Sunday. Hey, folks, it's free to get in. Go out there, and I'm going to give you big advice. Ron just gave you a tip. I'm going to give you a tip. Print a roster off of the website because there's going to be a lot of names and numbers you don't know. But print one out, fold it up, put it in your pocket, so when number 20, whatever, comes to the plate, you can look who it is, see what year they are, where they were before, all that good stuff. So there's the TK pro tip today. Print an LSU roster before you go to the scrimmage.
Or just have it on your phone. Sunday.
Okay. Sunday, you're younger than me. Okay.
Sunday at 1:00 or whatever. I think it's 1 or 1:30. The scrimmage starts. They're actually going to allow you to go on the field after the game. They're going to have posters, 2023 posters. They're going to give away down the right field bullpen, and you're going to be able to get autographs from the players when the scrimmage is over with. So, a little Super Bowl, LSU baseball prior to the Super Bowl. Bring the kids out there. They can meet the players, get a poster. It's really cool. It's probably the last time they're going to be able to do that till the start of the season. What else we got, TK?
LSU men tonight getting 10 points in Starkville. I already made the bet on Mississippi State -10. I didn't have a stupid attack like I did a couple Saturdays ago. So I already got it locked in on the Bulldogs, who have won 3 in a row. So they're at home. You got to think they can pound LSU.
All right. He's Tommy. I'm Ronnie. We'll be back on Friday morning for more Sports Shorts Daily. Tell us about Tremonti's as we get out of here.
What a big announcement, Ronnie. Crawfish start today. 3 p.m. Boiled crawfish, live crawfish. They'll have them through Super Bowl weekend. The supply will be a little limited since it's early in the season, but crawfish starts today. The lunch special today is lasagna. It's very, very good. But the crawfish start today. Connect on Facebook and Instagram. All the info and the pricing is posted. But Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, Jefferson Highway in Baton Rouge, right down the street from Parkview Baptist Church and School. We want you to check out Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Crawfish starts today, Wednesday.
Also, a little shout out before we get out of here. Baton Rouge Rougarou tickets on sale now. I'm actually going to speak today to a bunch of potential interns at LSU. You can get your 2023 tickets at brrougarou.com. Only $100. Get up to 4 people into every single game. That's $1 a ticket. Can't beat it. Go to brrougarou.com and get your season tickets now. All right, we'll see you on Friday. And for Tommy Christ and I'm Ronnie Rance. Have a great week, everybody.